Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Blackbird Movement. Today I'm with Dr. Scott Rosenberg, who is the president of Friends of Lesotho and the founder of the Lesotho Nutrition Initiative. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. So let's just get started. How did you get involved with Lesotho, and where is Lesotho?
I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Lesotho from 1989 to 1991. And I worked there as an agriculture volunteer for about 2.5 years, and I just absolutely fell in love with Lesotho. Lesotho is the only country in the world that is entirely landlocked and surrounded by another. Lesotho sits right inside of South Africa, and it is a place that actually I really wanted to go serve, because when I served in Peace Corps, you still had apartheid, and I wanted to go help a country that was suffering from apartheid. And I think I just kept going from there. Lesotho is landlocked because in the 19th century, white settlers moved into the interior of South Africa, and they took away about 70% of the arable land from the Basotho. So if you look at a map and you'll see this little country sitting right inside the middle of South Africa, you'll wonder, why is it there? They lost most of their land, and then in 1868, the British offered protection and made Lesotho a separate colony. And that's how it came to sit inside of South Africa. There are a lot of consequences from that historically. As the population of Lesotho has grown, and because Lesotho is a very mountainous country, the land really cannot and has not been able to support the people who live there for about the last 90 years. Lesotho has been a net importer of food since the 1930s. Under colonial rule and even after colonial rule, the way most Basotho families supported themselves was by sending off their husbands and sons to go work in the gold and diamond mines of South Africa, often for years at a time. And that was actually very intentional, that England and South Africa worked hand in hand to make sure that Lesotho supplied constant labor for the gold and diamond mines. In 1990, there were about 154,000 Basotho men working in the gold mines. That was nearly 50% of all able-bodied working men worked in the gold mines. Then when apartheid ended, the South African government made a concerted effort to start hiring more black South Africans in the mines, and the mines began to change some of their operations. And in the 1990s, about 100,000 miners lost their jobs. So if you think about that, nearly 2/3 of the workforce got retrenched and sent home over a decade, and there really have been no new jobs since then, which helps explain why Lesotho is one of the 30 poorest countries in the world. Lesotho soil is very, very poor. It's very difficult to grow things in Lesotho. When I was a Peace Corps volunteer, I met a guy who was doing soil studies for USAID in Lesotho, and now he works for NASA. And he built the box that went to Mars, and he studied Martian soil. And he actually told me that the nutrient content of Lesotho soil and Mars's is about the same.
Wow.
Lesotho has suffered significant droughts 2 out of the last 3 years. You can get frost in the mountains 10 or 11 months out of the year. So agriculture is really quite precarious. In a good year, Lesotho grows about 10% of its own food.
Wow.
These things contribute to both food insecurity, massive unemployment, which makes Lesotho one of the 30 poorest countries in the world. Lesotho also has the second highest HIV/AIDS rate of any country in the world. It's 25.6%. And they have the highest per capita death rate from the disease of any country in the world, and no other country is even close. Lesotho's per capita death rate is about twice that of any other nations in southern Africa. So these are all significant problems that Lesotho faces. Because of HIV/AIDS and other health and economic issues, in a country of 2 million people, there are about 300,000 orphans in Lesotho. And that's a number that I don't really understand as a human being. I've said it 100 times, it just rolled off my tongue again, but I don't understand how one understands that and makes sense of it. How does a country function when 15 to 18% of its population are orphan children? To me, that just doesn't work. And then in about 2003, I started taking students on a month-long service learning trip, working with orphans and HIV-positive children and other vulnerable children on sustainable projects, providing housing, building greenhouses and chicken coops, planting fruit trees and gardens, all to support orphans and the centers that support and take care of those children. We build playgrounds for the kids. We paint classrooms to help with education. And it is out of that that the Lesotho Nutrition Initiative grew. About 5 years ago, some of my students came back from a month in Lesotho. That's how long our trip is. And they said, we're not done. So I created a class at Wittenberg University called Problems in Lesotho. And we spent a whole semester studying problems in Lesotho. Then as a class, we flew over to Lesotho. We met with different NGOs, different ministers to find out what were some of the most pressing issues and what did they think we could do to help. And the thing that we learned about on that trip was the issue of malnutrition and stunting. At that time, about 35% of children in Lesotho suffered from what is called severe or chronic malnutrition and stunting. And the stunting part means that they physically don't grow as high as they should. But what we also learned, and what we really try to focus on, are kids under the age of 5. Because 95% of our cognitive development happens in the first 5 years of our life. So if you don't get the proper nutrition in the first 5 years of your life, your brain doesn't fully grow. It doesn't fully develop. So you can't become the human being that you could have been. You won't be as smart, as artistic, as creative, as empathetic, whatever. All those things that make us human beings can be taken away from you before you're 5. And we thought that's something that we should really focus on. And when we started this project, nobody was really addressing this in any significant way, and it was members of the Lesotho government and the World Food Program who said, this is an area where you could be of the greatest assistance, is helping us in this area. So we started the Lesotho Nutrition Initiative. We have been in operation now for about 3 years. We pack these meals. They contain rice, soy, dehydrated vegetables, and then there's a vitamin packet in here with 21 essential vitamins and minerals. These meals will not only stop malnutrition and stunting, but they will reverse the damage that is done. In our first year of operation, I think we sent about 180,000 meals. Our second year, we did about 450,000. And in the last 12 months, we've done about 800,000.
Wow.
And our goal is 1 million for the next 12 months. Right now, the Lesotho Nutrition Initiative is feeding about 3,500 children on a daily basis. For some children, this is the only meal they eat, but for others, it is a supplement just to make sure that they're getting the proper nutrition. We have 21 partners in Lesotho who feed the meals to the children. We don't do any of that. We ship the meals to Lesotho, and then the World Food Program and Catholic Relief help distribute the meals to 21 different centers.
Wow.
Some are orphanages, some are rural health clinics, some are daycares, some are hospitals, and the meals are distributed to those organizations, and then each of those organizations feed the children that are in their care. We now know of hundreds and hundreds of stories of kids who have been profoundly impacted by these meals. We've seen the chart showing their weight growth and their height growth, or how they're learning better or starting to speak, or now are able to walk on their own. So we know that these meals really make a difference. The sad thing for us is that when we started this project, it was about 35%. I'm now hearing numbers in Lesotho 40, 45, really? Even in some districts near 50%. So malnutrition and stunting is really probably the most profound and significant crisis that Lesotho faces. And because it's not a tangible or as a big thing as HIV/AIDS, and I'm not trying to obviously put down, but there's a lot of money that goes into HIV/AIDS, and it's a very understandable thing to all of us. But malnutrition and stunting is something that doesn't sound as severe in some ways, and people aren't as inclined to address. But it is a profound thing affecting the future of the nation. If you think about the cognitive development of almost 40% of your citizens being, stunted in some way.
So how do you think that can be better addressed? I mean, you guys are doing great work. What else can be done?
Well, so the Lesotho Nutrition Initiative is designed to be a humanitarian relief effort. I am also the president of an organization called Friends of Lesotho. And Friends of Lesotho is an organization that focuses on small-scale rural development projects, helping different communities, helping different organizations try to figure out how to generate income in Lesotho. A lot of it is through small businesses, eggs, chickens, greenhouses to grow vegetables to sell, cooperatives to develop. And I think FOL is one kind of organization, but FOL primarily does small grassroots education. FOL also sponsors students to help go through high school through our tuition assistance program. We help send about 150 students to high school every year. But FOL is small scale, we're small scale. Yeah. Development's a tricky issue. When I kind of did Peace Corps, and then even when I started doing the service learning trips, I said I never wanted to get involved in a large-scale kind of big project because most of them fail. And now I find myself in the middle of one, something I never expected. But I really felt I had no choice, that there was something out there that was so significant that wasn't being addressed. Yeah. I wanted to try to do something, even if it was small. We only touch a small handful of the kids, but something's better than nothing. Lesotho faces a lot of serious questions. There are a lot of profound and deep questions to how to get Lesotho out of poverty and to become more sustainable. I really wish I knew the answer to that question. I think there are people who are better trained and better educated, or organizations that have millions of dollars that are better suited to take care of that. But until those problems are fixed, until the people of Lesotho have better employment, better access to food, I'm going to keep doing this. The one thing, though, that I think is really important is that from my own Peace Corps experience, sometimes projects go to Lesotho and they're imposed on the people. A lot of development projects don't ask the Lesotho what they want or what they need. They tell them what they want or what they need, or tell them this is what we're going to give you. This is how we're going to fix your problems. And that doesn't work. They know a lot better than we do what they need, what their problems are, and what are often the best solutions. People need to listen to the Lesotho.
Great. Well, thank you so much for all the amazing work you do and for being with us today on Blackbird.
Thank you. My pleasure.
You're welcome. And thank you guys for being with us, and join us again for another episode of the Blackbird Movement.